Morning, everybody. This is Brian back here today. I know we've missed a couple weeks, and sorry about that. I had a lot going on, mowing season and my regular job and everything else, and some sick kiddos and everything else. So, I just want to say I'm sorry about not posting for a couple weeks and stuff. But so I missed the first week at Bay Ridge, Mother's Day weekend. Me and the fam, we were out down in Massachusetts for the weekend, so I didn't get to see the first week there at Bay Ridge. I heard it was some good racing. I heard the track was a little slimy to begin with, turned into a decent fast track. I've heard some mixed reviews on the wall and what people think of the wall and everything like that. Personally, I think it's going to make the racing a little more interesting. I know last week, a tough track, pretty single file, not a lot of passing and going. A couple good wrecks though. I think there was five or six rollovers last weekend, so they definitely tore some stuff up. But a lot of good racing. The coupes, the modifieds, they weren't really able to make the outside groove work as well. The dirt stocks, they put on a pretty good show. The track was pretty damn racy for them, which I think they put the best show on every week anyways. So, people say what they want, but when you have cars actually passing each other and actually racing for position, it's not, waiting for the guy to slide up to be able to pass and stuff, it makes for way better racing for everybody. And I know me personally as a fan, it's 10 times more entertaining to watch. So with that being said, let me find it here. So the first week, modified division, Todd Buckwalt got the win. Max Dolliver finished second, Brian Chafee third, Jason Gray fourth, and Robert Tucker fifth. And to round that top 10, you had Ashton Pearson sixth, Jeremy Huntoon seventh, Owen Brown eighth, Jason Horniak ninth, and Thomas Placey finishing in 10th. Robert Tucker won Heat 1, and Kyle Huntington won Heat 2. So, pretty good night for Todd Buckwalt there. Like I said, I didn't get to see the races, so I can't comment on too much of, what the race looked like and, if he was dominant or if he came from the back or whatever. But from what I've heard, it was a good race, good show. The Wells River Chevy dirt car Sportsman Coupes, you had Jason Gray that won it, Michael Danforth second, Todd Buckwalt third, Ricky Sanville fourth, AJ Pushy fifth, Chris Roberts sixth, Adam Osgood seventh, Cooper Hodge eighth, Allie Pearson ninth, and Bob Shepard rounding out the top 10. And Heat 1 winner was Rob Williams. Heat 2 was Michael Danforth Jr. The limited mods, Brian King pulled off to win, Keegan Tabor second, and Kalen Pearson third, according to this. I don't know if that's correct or not. That's just the stats that they have posted on the website. I really like this division. I really think it's cool that, you do have some younger guys starting out, running the limited, stuff like that. It's a good feeder series into the Sportsman mods. I really hope that division takes off in a couple years and we can get 10 15 cars in that division. I think it'd be good, pretty good racing, and it'd be really helpful for say younger kids that want to get in a mod and want to just get the experience of how one drives and everything like that. So with that being said, next we have the late model division. Kelly Miller Sr. pulled off the win. Chad McAlpine finished second. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly or not. And Tim Higgins third, Ryan Christian fourth, Jeff Reynolds fifth, Kevin Smith sixth, and Bradley Shanks seventh. And they did not have anything posted, at least right here, for the Heat winners. And week 1, Keith Manser pulled off the win, John Field second, Matt Pike third, Mike Mann fourth, Tyler Fellows fifth, Michael LaCroix sixth, Timothy Blake seventh, Tyler Stark did not start, and David Hunt did not start. Keith Manser won Heat 1, and there was no race for Heat 2. Woodsville Power Equipment Ridge Runners, you had Doug Boucher pulled off the win, Riley Chafee second. I love to see that for Riley. I've known Riley a long time. He's one of my best friend's little brother. Wicked good kid, heart of gold. Loves racing, very passionate about it, and I love to see when he's up front. Kevin LaForest third, Kyle Morris fourth, Katie Burrows fifth, Zach Audette sixth, Ryan Sayers seventh, Leonard Sanborn eighth, Nathan Sargent ninth, and Ann Tatro finishing 10th. I heard there was some controversy in the 4-cylinder division week 1. I know Ryan Sayers and Zach got into it a little bit on track, piled up a couple cars and stuff like that. I mean, personally, I watched the video. It looks like a racing deal. I mean, Zach's driving hard, trying to win the race. I don't know Ryan Sayers too well, but I know he's got a fast car, and I know he drives the hell out of that thing. So you got two guys going for it, and I believe they're going to go for it every week. And I don't know what kind of respect they're going to show each other, but I can tell you it should make for an interesting season, that's for sure. So yeah, just a little bit of controversy week 1 in the 4 cylinders, but hey, it wouldn't be 4-cylinder racing without some. So that's what we come to love. There's always some tempers flying and people getting a little angry with each other and stuff, but hey, it makes it fun for everybody else that's not involved in it. But we like to watch the show either way. Heat 1 was Robert Audette taking the win. Heat 2 was Dakota Giddon taking the Heat 2 win. The 500cc mini sprints had 15-lap feature. Low car count this year for the 500s. There's only 7 cars that showed up week 1. To me, that's heartbreaking. I mean, that's a great feeder series for young kids getting into racing, that want to get on dirt, that want to get in an open wheel car, and learn the differences of a full body car compared to an open wheel. I mean, you can't bump tires, you can't jump tires, you can't do any of that. I mean, most likely you're going to end up on your lid. It's not like 4-cylinder racing where you can beat and bang and rub into the guy and stuff. I mean, you jump tires and things can happen quick. So it's really good for kids that want to get up into a coupe or a mod or anything like that, get in the open wheel kind of scene a little bit. Even if they move up to midgets or sprint cars or anything. I mean, it's just a great series for young kids to learn and get better. So I hate to see that they only have 7 of them. That's where I started out racing, and I know there's a lot of older guys that race that division still, and that's what makes these kids better. Facing good competition, guys that have been racing for a while. When you're racing with people out there that know what they're doing on the track, I mean, if you just watch and learn and follow and take the time to understand why they're doing what they're doing and why they're running that lane, I mean, there's so much kids can learn running that division. But anyways, with that being said, David Greenslit finished first, Jake Wolf finished second, Bentley Robbins finished third. Good for Bentley. He's a younger kid. I love seeing him in that division. He has a fast car. He really does. And he seems to be a pretty smooth operator. I mean, he's a young kid, but he's been racing for a little while. I know he raced trucks at White Mountain for a little while there, and I think this is his second or third year in the 500, so it's good to see him back. Morgan McIntyre finished 4th, and Wyatt Countermarsh finished 5th. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly either, but we're giving it our best shot. So with that being said, the 600s, they have a pretty decent sized field. Looks like there was possibly 18 of them. Josh Ball got the win. It says on here the 17 car did not sign in, but he finished 2nd, so it doesn't list a name. 3rd was Luke Hinckley. 4th was Cody Willett. 5th was Destin St. Clair. 6th was Josh Wright. 7th was Domenico Daigle. 8th was Todd Davis, 9th was Donnie Sharp, and same for the 49. It lists no driver's name, just says did not sign in. So I don't know what the deal is there. I might be able to go on their website and be able to see everything there, but it does not list a name. And that was your week 1 finishing results. So last week I did make it to the track. Like I was saying, you know, it was a tough track, hard to pass. We had a couple divisions that were able to make the outside groove work as well. Otherwise, I mean, it was kind of follow the leader racing, you know, just a long train, just waiting for the first guy to screw up so somebody could fill a hole, get underneath them. Personally, I thought the coupes were the boringest show of the night. You know, I hate to say that because I love my coupe racing. I love watching the coupes. But when the track's like that, the coupes, in my opinion, do not put on a good show. And, you know, I might make some people grumpy. I might piss some people off by saying that, but it's just personally how I feel about it, and I really don't care what anybody else has to say about it. So with that being said, I mean, for me, I would rate that race as like a 2. I mean, it was not a lot of action, not a good track for that division. I mean, they just can't hook up, they can't make the outside work. Nobody was going anywhere, nobody was doing anything. And the modified race weren't much better in my opinion. I mean, I think there was a couple cars that were able to make the outside work and get by some guys, but for the most part, I mean, it was very dry race again, in my opinion. And I don't know how to make everybody happy. I don't think as a track promoter for Butch, I don't think he can ever make anybody happy. You're gonna have people that are grumpy because the track's slimy or too tacky, or, you know, you're gonna have guys complaining because the track's too slick or whatever. And my belief is it really depends on what you're racing. You know, the dirt stocks, they seem to do pretty dang good on the dry slick track. Obviously the 4 cylinders, front wheel drive guys, they're gonna put on a better show on a dry slick track. The coupes, my opinion, I mean, when the track's slick like that, I don't want to say they don't put on a good show, but everybody, in my opinion, just looks like they're so equal that nobody can really go anywhere. Nobody can step out to the outside and make it work. I mean, yeah, you had Tad a couple years ago. Yeah, you got Jason Gray now that can, you know, they're going to find ways to pass people because they just have that knack for racing, and they know how to be smooth, and they know how to, you know, just make it work. But for a lot of guys, you know, they really step out to the outside and they struggle, and they, you know, they can't pass. They end up just falling back, going backwards, which it just makes it a tough race, and everybody's fighting for the bottom. And I thought the mod division was kind of the same last week. The late models, that was hard to watch. They tore a lot of stuff up, a lot of pace laps. They just, I don't know if it was the track. I don't know if everybody was just kind of rough riding. I'm not really sure what the deal was there, but a lot of pace laps. It weren't a bad race though. I mean, it was decent passing when they did get going. And then once the field kind of got, you know, kind of separated, it just turned into a single file race, which, you know, when there's only 4 cars left, you know, it's not going to be the best show you've seen of the night. The 4 cylinders, in my opinion, they put on a good show last week. Like I said, I mean, they were able to at least run both lanes, and, you know, at least you were seeing cars race and pass each other, and, you know, people advance in positions, and people, you know, that started up front kind of falling back, or, you know, whatever. So, you know, you're not just watching cars go in a train and follow the leader, basically. So I would say they probably put on the second best show. The dirt stocks last week, in my opinion, they were the best show of the night. You know, like I said, they were able to make both grooves work. Fitzgerald ended up getting the win, just edging out my best friend Tyler there. Tyler had a heck of a race. Looked like we need a little more drive off the bottom to get Fitzgerald. He was able to hold his own up there pretty dang well. But we had a fast car, and, you know, Fellows does what he always does. He always gets up on the wheel and drives the hell out of it. So, you know, that's why I love watching him. So yeah, with all that being said, we'll go through the results from last week. So Cody Gregolopoulos pulled off his first Sportsman Mod win. You know, I'm happy for Cody. I'm glad he moved up. I do think a mod fits his driving style pretty damn well. I mean, he's been in the coupe game for a while, and you know, I think that he'll actually do pretty decent. I'm not going to say he's going to win the championship or nothing like that, but I mean, he'll be in the top 5. I feel like consistently, you know, not every week, but he'll be right around there fighting for a decent position. Richie Simmons, good to see Richie back. I always like watching Richie race. He's aggressive. You know, he drives hard. He's been around a long time, raced a lot of different cars. So, you know, it's just cool to have Richie back. Melvin, he finished 3rd. I know he raced Adam's other car last week. I believe he got tore up pretty good week 1. Like I said, I wasn't there, so I didn't get to see it. But I'm glad that Mel had a good run and finished in the top 3. At least brought home with a trophy. Horniak finishing 4th. I love seeing Horniak in a mod. I know he's probably wanted to get behind the wheel of a mod for a while now, and I know he's tried one out here and there, but you know, it's cool to see him in his own ordeal being a mod. I think Jason will do awesome in a modified. Makes me excited to see him move up. You know, I have a lot of respect for Jason. Very, very good people. He's got an awesome crew with Chuck and all of them. You know, they're just a badass group. Really nice people. You know, Jason loves his racing, and we love watching him. So I'm glad to see Jason up in the finish, get a top 5 this week. Hopefully this weekend, or today actually. I hope he can have another good run and finish up front, and you know, hopefully have a good season. So Kyle Huntington ran out top 5. Another one that, you know, he's had a lot of tough luck in the last couple of years. He usually does pull off a win or 2 a year. He's got a good car. You know, he's a good driver. He just, you know, when you're racing with 18 other guys, you know, things are gonna happen. Shit's gonna get torn up, and I feel like he's kind of got the short end of the stick quite a bit when it comes to that. But I love seeing Kyle still out there, still on the grind. So yeah, good to see him with a top 5 finish. Thomas Placey 6th, Jeremy Huntoon 7th, Jason Gray 8th, Max Dolliver 9th, and Robert Tucker 10th. And Owen Brown, I'm gonna give a little shout out to Owen. He finished at 11th. Owen's a wicked good kid, young kid. I think he's actually a hell of a driver. You know, I don't know what his backing looks like. I don't know how much help he has and stuff like that, but Owen's a really, really nice kid. He comes down into our pit and, you know, shoots the crap with us, and you know, he's a nice kid, and I love to see that. I love to see him out there, and I really hope he does good this year. So with that, you know, Richie took the Heat 1 win, and Melv took the Heat 2 win. Rob Williams got his first career win last week. It was pretty cool to see Rob pull it off. I've known Rob for a long, long time. I remember being a little young kid running around at the campground with my grandparents, and Rob and his wife, you know, camping, and they were always close with the Chafee family and stuff like that. So, you know, I've known of Rob for a long time. I think quite a bit of Rob, honestly, as a person. You know, he's a really, really, really nice guy. Never hear anything really bad said about him. You know, he had a lot of tough luck last year. I feel like he got used up quite a bit last year, but you know, I love to see Rob get his first win, and he had a good run last week. I know he started up front, but hey, you still got to hold all those guys off, you know, and you got to be smooth, and you got to hold the bottom, and you got to, you know, on a track like that, when you know most likely the only way they're going to get by is, you know, to bump you or get underneath you. So he did a great job just protecting the bottom and being smooth. And so, you know, I love to see that for Rob. Lucas Wheeler finished second. Lucas, I really hope Lucas has a great year this year. You know, us as a group, we think a lot of Lucas. I know Tyler loves Lucas and his old man. They're great people. They've helped out fellows a lot. You know, so that means a lot to me too, because, you know, I care a lot about fellows, and I love to see everybody that's in his corner, you know, supporting him and trying to help him out any way they can. Cooper Hodge finished third. I love seeing that for Cooper. You know, he's my pick to hopefully pull it off this year. I'd love to see Cooper have a good, consistent year, hopefully not get caught up in too much crap. Cooper's a really good kid, and, you know, I don't have enough good things to say about Cooper. You know, I've watched him grow up for a long time now. I've known Cooper basically his whole life. You know, and I just really want to see Cooper do well. So it's awesome that he got a top 3. Hopefully he gets it done this year. We'll be rooting for him every week. Of course, we pit right next to Cooper, so, you know, we always are supporting Cooper. Todd Buckwalt finished 4th last week. He had a good run. 5th was Michael Danforth Jr. 6th, Adam Osgood. Jason Gray 7th. Ali Pushy 8th. Bob Shepard 9th. And Chris Roberts 10th. I believe, I'm not sure what happened to Bob, but I'm pretty sure he ended up getting spun out last week, or something happened there. But, you know, still a respectable finish. Bob was always really good to me when I first started racing my coupe and stuff. He would always come down, not always come down, but he always made it a point if we passed each other in the pits to say hi and talk to me and, you know, ask me about the car and how everything was going. So, you know, I have a lot of respect for Bob too. I know he might ruffle some feathers out on the track because he's, you know, he's a hard racer, but, you know, you got to respect those old timers that have been around it forever. And, you know, I love his passion for the sport racing. So, you know, it's good to see Bob still out there. With that, Sean King pulled off the win in the limited mods. Sean's got a fast car. I think he really does do a good job on the dry slick tracks. I mean, he seems to have it pretty well figured out. He's smooth. He's not all over the track. So, you know, props to Sean. I love to see that he's still racing. He raced 500s back when I did too. And his old man finished 2nd behind him, so that's pretty cool. The father-son duo finishing 1-2. You know, I like to see Brian back out on the track. He's been back obviously for a couple years now, but he had a long hiatus from racing for a while there where the boys were growing up. You know, Travis is running a coupe. Sean's in the limited, Brian's in the limited, so, you know, it's cool to see all the King family out there. Keegan Tabor, a 3rd place finish, good run for Keegan. Jordan Robinson, 4th. I was really impressed, honestly. I think that fits her pretty well. She does pretty damn decent job in that modified, and I know she's going to get a little more figured out when she builds her confidence and everything like that. So really cool to see for Jordan. Really happy to see that she stuck with racing and she's still out there. You know, of course, you know, her brother has raced the modified, been in it forever, and her old man's been around it, helping her, you know, her brother. So it's pretty cool to see him out there. So with that being said, we have Kalen Pearson 5th, Kelly Miller 6th, and Michael Kinney 7th. So, you know, good run for the Kings. They pulled off the 1-2 finish in the limiteds last week. Not really a whole lot to talk about in their division, their race last week, as far as, you know, the racing on track. I mean, I didn't think it was bad racing. Like I said, Sean got out basically with the lead and basically didn't run away with it, but, you know, I don't think anybody was going to get by him. I mean, Brian had a good car, but, you know, he weren't quite close enough to close the deal in or anything like that. So with that being said, the DMA midgets were there last week. Nick Fredo finished first. Brendan Piasca second. John Forlano, or Forlano, maybe? Not sure how that's properly pronounced, but we're giving it our best shot. He finished out third. Third. Daniel Piasca finished fourth. Wayne Kohler fifth. Will Hall sixth. Keith Brown seventh. Chris Murray eighth. And Dylan Mendito ninth. There was quite a bit of rollovers, like I said. You know, I think there was 5 or 6 rollovers. I think they had 2 cars that rolled over, I believe, in the midgets last week. Not 100% sure on that, but they definitely rolled enough stuff, tore up enough shit. So, you know, I'm sure in that division, things get expensive pretty dang quick. You know, you're not making parts for those cars, you're buying parts for those cars. So sucks to kind of only see 9 of them out there. You know, I'd like to see a bigger field in the midgets. You know, I just remember growing up, you had Adam, Josh's son, for the FMR crew. I believe it was Mike Chafee. He used to run a midget back then. And those boys always put on a show every week. I mean, the midgets were some of the best racing back 2014, 2015, around there. So I'd love to see them get the car count up a little bit. But you never know, you know, maybe somebody couldn't make it, you know. Maybe there's other cars out there that, you know, people might have had, you know, just other things going on. You never know. So, you know, hopefully we see some more show up. The High Country Dispensary Late Model Future, Ryan Christensen pulled off the win. Like I said, I mean, there was pace lap after pace lap after pace lap, so I think they only actually raced 3 laps. So Ryan got the win. I love seeing that for Ryan. I love seeing Ryan still in a race car. You know, he's been around it forever. Honestly, I have a lot of respect for Ryan as a race car driver and as a person. You know, they're good people. So good to see that for him. Kevin Smith finished second, Kelly Miller Sr. third, Jeff Reynolds fourth, Bradley Shanks fifth, Jason Potter sixth, Chad McAlpine seventh, and Tim Higgins eighth. Yeah, so hopefully the late models have a little better, I don't know if they're there this week or not, but if they are, I'd love to hopefully see them have a good run. So rounding out, we got the LaValle Building Supply Dirt Stalkers. You got Andrew Fitzgerald, like I said, pulled off the win. Like I said, he was able to hold the outside and keep Fellows at bay. So Tyler Fellows finished second, John Fields third, Tim Tucker fourth, Keith Manser fifth, Josh Pacino sixth, Derek Stern seventh, Tyler Tremblay eighth, Mike Mann ninth, and Timothy Blake rounding out the top 10. I will say one thing about the dirt stocks. Tim Tucker, I'm pretty sure, went to the back twice and still came home with a 4th place finish. That's pretty cool. I believe this is it's his first year in a dirt stock. You know, he used to run modified back in the day. I actually bought my motor from Tim when we got into coupe racing. Very, very nice guy. So good to see that for Tim. Josh had some bad luck. Pacino, I should say. Josh Pacino. I don't know what quite all took place. But, you know, he finished with a 6th, so still a respectable finish. Yeah, so Tyler Fellows took home the heat race win. And I'm surprised they only ran 1 heat race for that division. There's 11 cars. You know, I figured they had at least split up 5 in one group, 6 in the other, or something like that. Or sorry, there's 14 cars, my mistake. So yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do 7 and 7 there. But you never know. Oh, sorry, right here. Yep, it finally just loaded. So that's right, they did have 2 heat races. Andrew Fitzgerald 1 heat 2. Sorry about that. So yeah, like I said earlier, I think you're 2 guys that are gonna be around each other a lot this year, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they handle racing together this year. Ryan Sayers pulled off to win this week, or last week. Zach Audette second. Riley Chaffee third. Back-to-back podium finishes for Riley. Like I said earlier, I'd love to see that for Riley. Kevin LaForest came home fourth. You know Kevin's going to be, he's going to be up front. He's going to get by guys. Don't matter if he starts in the back, where he starts. He's going to be up front in the top 5. He's just been around it for a while. He knows how to drive those cars, knows what he's doing. So Doug Boucher finished 5th. A little side note about Doug. I've watched Doug race actually for a long time at Legion in a late model. I know he ran a wingless sprint car for a while. I don't really care if he did move down or whatever. A racer's gonna race, and people that love racing are gonna find a way to make something happen in behind the wheel of a car. And it doesn't matter if it's a 4-cylinder or what it is. It's the fact that people love to race, and to me that's what matters. I mean, I don't care if you're a 2-time champion in a modified division. If you can't afford that modified and you still want to race, so you go down to run a 4-cylinder, more power to you. I mean, there's not enough going on around here that people can actually stay busy and do things they like to do. And if you love to race, then you should be racing. I mean, life's so short and you never know what's going to happen. So for Doug, I don't care if he's behind the wheel of a late model or a midget or a wingless sprint car or whatever. I mean, good for Doug to climb back in a car and be behind the wheel. So good to see him back. 5th place finish for him in the 4-cylinder division. Good to see. Katie Burrows 6th, Terry Flint Jr. 7th, Tim Davis 8th, and Ann Tatro 9th, Robert Audette 10th. So yeah, another good run for Ryan and Zach. I mean, they probably would have had 2 weeks back-to-back podium finishes if they didn't take each other out week 1. But like I said, in my personal opinion, I think it was a racing deal, so I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. With that said, Terry Flint Jr. took home the Heat 1 win. Heat 2 win went to Ryan Sayers. The 500cc mini sprints. Jake Wolf got the win. Wyatt Countermarsh 2nd. Bentley Roberts 3rd. Ainsley Davis 4th. Jackson Davis 5th. Adam Flowing 6th. Kate Donnelly 7th. Tristan Puffinger 8th. Jamie Comeau 9th. David Greenslit 10th. They had a little more cars show up this last week. There was 13, I believe 13 of them this week. So good to see that. Hopefully those car counts stay a little bit higher for the 500s. You never know though. You never know what's going to happen. Like I said, week 1, it was a little slimy. I mean, I know they got a little bit of rain and stuff, so you never know what other people had going on, or if they thought it weren't worth showing up or whatever. So, I'd like to see the 500s, stay around 14, 15 cars or more, so helps the kids learn, and that's what matters. We need to keep these generations going of kids that are interested in racing, love racing. So the only way we're going to do that is to get kids involved somehow, some way. Sorry about all the vehicles going by. I'm videoing outside today. It's just nice out. So Josh Ball took home the win in the 600cc mini sprints. Cody Willett 2nd. Tegan Diagonal 3rd. I believe that's how you say that. I'm not sure. All these last names to people I never met or don't know. So all these new names. Mark Widget 4th. Josh Wright 5th. Domenico Daigle 6th. Todd Davis 7th. Donnie Sharp 8th. Costa Macris 9th. I believe that's how you pronounce that. And Ethan Prolox 10th. Good race for the 600s last week. They had some cars roll over, like the midgets. I believe the 500s had a couple cars roll over. I know late model rolled. So yeah, I mean, they definitely tore up some stuff this last week, but it's part of racing. Shit's gonna happen. You're not always gonna go home in one piece. We all like to. What matters is everybody was safe. I believe everybody is okay after their wrecks last week. It don't matter if it looks like it's a hard rollover or not. I promise you, when you're strapped into that car and things start going sideways like that, you feel those little impacts. So what truly matters is everybody's okay, and I'm glad to see everybody's okay. So that was it for the first 2 weeks. I'll just end off on just some final thoughts here. I would like to give my condolences to the Bush family. I know most of you obviously know who Kyle Busch is, and we lost Kyle Busch this week. You know, we're actually going to Pocono in 2 weeks. My best friend, you know, he's a Kyle Busch fan, and he was very excited to go see Kyle run this year at Pocono. You know, it sucks. You know, I'm a racer. I love racing. You know, I follow the NASCAR scene every week. You know, my little friend group, we try to get together and watch the races every week. And it's not that, you know, it's my favorite form of racing or anything like that. I just love racing. It don't matter if it's World Outlaws, late models, sprint cars, big block modifieds, you know, 358s, whatever. I mean, I just love racing. I love being around it, and I love watching it. And, you know, I've been a big follower for a long time of all these guys. You know, ever since I was a little kid, you know, that's all I truly love was racing. So, you know, my heart goes out to everybody that was close to Kyle Busch and, you know, in that realm. And, yeah, you know, you never want to see somebody lose their life at a young age. You know, 41 years old is pretty young. You know, he had 2 kids. You know, I think of that myself. You know, I would never want to leave this world, you know, and leave my 2 kids behind without their father still growing. You know, it's a part of life. I mean, we're all born to die, basically, you know, one day. But, you know, cherish every moment you're here. You know, love the people you love, and take care of the people that truly matter. So yeah, you know, sucks for the NASCAR world and for people that truly love Kyle Busch. You know, it's sad, definitely sad. Yeah, with that also being said, you know, a little more to touch on Bear Ridge. You know, 3rd week tonight. I hope it's going to be some good racing. I'm sure it's going to be a dry, slick track. Hopefully there's some more passing this week. I mean, like I said, some of the features last week were a little tough to watch. But, you know, for racers, we're still going to show up every week. You know, we're still going to go watch. We're still going to help. You know, the guys are still going to get behind the wheel and put on a show, whether you like it or not. You know, hopefully fellows is able to pull one off tonight. That's what I want to see. Of course, I want to see that every week, but, you know, you never know. So Memorial Day weekend this weekend. Dirt stocks are at Devil's Bowl next week. Excited to see that. Sorry I haven't touched much on it, everything else. Like I said, just so much going on lately. So I'm going to cover bits and pieces, and, you know, I hope you all stay in tune and, you know, follow along. And, you know, we'll see what the season brings. It's a beautiful day out today. You know, gotta love summertime. You know, it's hard not to wake up with a smile on your face when the sun's shining and birds are chirping. So, you know, I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe. You know, treat people with respect, and, you know, love the people that truly matter. Because, like I said earlier, when it comes to Kyle Busch, you know, you truly never know when that last goodbye is going to be, or that last hug, or you know, last handshake, or the last time you ever talk to somebody. So, you know, treat people with respect and love the people that truly matter. So yeah, I hope you all tune in. I'll try to throw up some shorts on the page from some racing this week. And yeah, have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. I got a 3-day weekend. I hope most of you guys do too. Spend time with your families. You know, kiss your babies, kiss your wife. And yeah, have a great day, guys.